let's talk about what's going on in the culture. All right, 16 of the over 600 Chicago ICE detainees have criminal histories. Now, this is something that we, Q and myself, we suspected this. But this data comes from Donald Trump's own Department of Justice. So I'm going to share from CBS. The Trump administration has released the names of 607 people detained by immigration agents and whose arrests might have violated a court order. And only 16 of them have been identified by the federal government as a high public safety risk because of their alleged criminal histories, according to court documents. The list includes names, country of citizenship, and whether they've been deported, remain in custody, or voluntarily deported. The list is topped by 16 people deemed by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement as high public safety risk because of their alleged criminal histories. Charges include aggravated assault, aggravated DUI, domestic battery, and kidnapping. One person was deemed a national security risk, and another was identified as a foreign criminal, but no details were given. The government was required to provide the list in court as a judge prepares to potentially release most of the people by next Friday because their arrest potentially violated the terms of a court order restricting warrantless arrests. Eric Balliet, a retired special agent with Homeland Security investigations, worked for the department until last year after 25 years on the job. He said the data regarding the ICE arrest erodes trust in federal immigration crackdown in the Chicago area, in particular the Trump administration's repeated claims that they are targeting the worst of the worst. Quote, "It confuses the public. It certainly instills a sense of fear. To go after violent criminals, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of time. And candidly, from the people I've talked to, the department and the agency doesn't want to expense that time, that strategic and operational planning to actually get the worst of the worst." Unquote. The government's own data shows that 78% of the 607 people detained by federal immigration agents between June 12th and mid-October pose a low risk to public safety, while a total of 7% are considered high risk, though not all of those considered high risk have criminal histories. Only 16% of the people on the list, or 2.6%, have criminal histories that the federal government deemed make them high risk to public safety. Quote, "That's not a good percentage to say the least. I think it runs contradictory to what has been perpetuated over the last several months, where this is a targeted enforcement operation designed to go after the kind of the worst kind," Balliet said. Okay. All right. Well, first off, I want to talk about the alleged crimes here. Aggravated assault, aggravated DUI, domestic battery, so forth. Those sound bad, but there's a story behind every time I hear of aggravated assault. Sometimes it's exactly what you think. It's just as awful as you think. Sometimes it was, I got in a fight when I was 17, tried as an adult, whatever, or I got in a fight when I was 20 in front of a nightclub. It's something like that. I'm 44 now. I got in a fight when I was 20. It's still on my record, right? Which is decidedly less of a high public safety risk, right? Now, because we don't have the details of it, we cannot know. But 16 out of 600, I think it tells us that an entire community of people is being terrorized because they are brown, because this administration has whipped up the political right into a frenzy using words like invasion and drug dealers and rapists and all that sort of stuff, has turned the word immigrant into a sort of a pejorative as opposed to like an aspirational thing, and has criminalized anyone who wasn't born on U.S. soil. We made the case on a recent episode that, immigrants make this country go. We need the brain power from the entire planet, countries all over the world, to continue to bolster the industry that we have in this country, the strategies that we have in this country, insofar as our government is concerned. Innovation, tech, um, military. We need the might of the minds of the planet to remain in first place, in a manner of speaking. So we need immigrants, right? Now, you might not associate immigrants with brain power because you might be conditioned to think that all immigrants are hunched over in a field all day, but indeed we need those types of immigrants too. And where we live, the farms that the immigrants work used to be Mexican farms. The land used to be Mexico. There's a strong argument that the United States kind of just stole the land from Mexico. And the idea that people have been kind of migrating based on the seasons to follow the work that they do, which is, farm work, is not a new idea in the part of the country where Q and I live. So the fact that a border now runs, artificially between one side of land that was once Mexico and another side of the land that is still Mexico, is not the fault of the people that work these lands. And so we need those people too, because these are jobs that famously American people don't perform. But American people do like to eat, right? So if the issue is we don't want immigrants, and we don't want any immigrants in the country, then we lose the brain power and we lose, the workforce that props up this country. If the idea is that we just want immigrants to pay taxes and be legal citizens, then ICE raids is not the way to go about doing that. Criminalizing their status isn't the way to go about doing that. Indeed, if that's what you want, immigrants to pay taxes and be legal citizens, then you create an easier path for citizenship for them. They're already here. They're already doing the work. These are decent folks, clearly based on the data. They're not criminals. And this country has, or at least this administration has, whipped up a frenzy and scared the right. I don't even know if that really qualifies anymore, because I think that they're starting to realize that the fear is unfounded, so they should no longer be scared. But I think that this data coming from Donald Trump's own Department of Justice, suggesting that only 16 people out of the 607 even had criminal histories, is telling of exactly what this administration is on. They're just going after brown people. Q, your thoughts.
So 97.3% of the people have no criminal history.
Yeah.
And we go back and forth about this fear word, right? Now that they know that the fear is unfounded, no, it's not going to change anything, because they were never afraid. They're racist. Mm-hmm. I know we hate that word, but that's what it is. They're racist. The crime is that they're black and brown. Mm-hmm. It was never about them being criminals. They've turned being black and brown into a crime.
Yeah.
The highest court in the land has made it legal to use that they are black and brown as justification for detaining them. This was always about black and brown. So back when black people were putting their hands up, talking about this, not my fight, I'm going to sit this one out, it was always an insane position to take.
Yeah, that was goofy.
Because we were always going to be a part of it. And paratroopers on Black Hawk helicopters going into black housing projects to detain and zip tie black fathers, mothers, and their children. And I mean children, not teenagers, babies. For the crime of being poor, for the crime of being black. And like Ramses said, turning the word immigrant into a pejorative. It was never about these people being afraid. It was always about them hating us. It was always about them hating people that aren't white. Yeah. And those people have their enemy now. Even when the data and the statistics show that these people have done nothing wrong, they don't care. They think us existing is wrong. So here we are.